Today's project from the workbench is improving, or I guess maxing out, the fuel system on the 2+2. So this has a Walbro 450 in-tank pump. So I'm actually just using like the normal Turbo Buick or Monte Carlo SS EFI tank down here. So I don't have any fancy sumps or welding or hoses or anything on the outside. And the pump is inside, stays cool, nice and quiet. One dilemma is running a 450 pump. I'm kind of maxing it out with my horsepower level, especially on E85. And I put a fuel pressure sensor in the regulator here this spring, this winter. And something I was looking at underneath the car is my fuel filter. So this is what I have, and I actually got this on like the Professional Products. It's kind of Chinese, but kind of name brand, I guess. Designed in the US and made in China. So this is the generic filter I got. I think I got like 6 of these or 3 of these or something off of a closeout sale from these guys a couple years ago. I think I paid like $4 or something for this. The dilemma is I've been watching a lot of the YouTubes, you know, and people seem to have injector plugging issues, and I really don't want to deal with that. And this filter also is pretty small, and looking on it, it's got a 160 gallon per hour rating and 7 psi and a 35 micron filtering range. So this filter I put in 4 years ago. It's fine. I haven't had any injector plugging issues. However, probably not the best thing in hindsight. 35 microns really not good enough for an EFI system, and 160 GPH, that is more than 450 liter per hour. I think 450 liter per hour, if I do the mental math, is like 130-ish gallons per hour. But this is at 7 psi gauge. I'm running it, 4 bars, so like almost 60 psi of fuel pressure and plus boost. So it's probably going to see upwards of 70, 75 psi. This will probably hold the pressure, but not that big, and that 35 microns really not fine enough to stop particulate from getting into the injectors and plugging stuff up. So carburetor, it's probably fine. You can buy like a fancy high micron ones of these. They can go 10 micron, fancy aluminum. It looks fancy underneath your car, underneath your hood. However, my fuel filter sits between my rear axle and the fuel tank, and you never see it. Because I think of this more of a piece of construction equipment or a tractor. I'm going to something like this for the fuel system. So this is actually a Baldwin mount, an FB1311. I think I got it like 25 bucks off of the good old Jungle website. And it is a China part, but Baldwin is basically owned by Parker. So Parker Hannifin, relatively good quality control there. And it uses this Wix 3301 10 micron filter, and they just screw together. So it's quite a bit bigger, but it's still not too big. Has in and out arrows, and what I like about this is you can go on Amazon or whatever, and a lot of people do buy the goldenrod one, which is like an in-tank. If you have a farm or a construction site and you got a big construction yard tank for fuel system, it's basically it goes on your home or shop fuel tank system. The problem with that is that these filters aren't as really obtainable from those. You can get this Wix part. It's actually used on like CAT, Case IH, Komatsu, Peterbilt, like pretty much anything industrial uses this filter. And this mount that it screws into has 4 3/8 holes at the top. And it is O-ring Boss. So that goldenrod one, or a lot of the other just generic fuel pump tank style filters have NPT, so you got to fill them up with some type of sealant. You don't want to get debris in your fuel system because you put thread tape on there, so the O-rings are going to seal. It's got a nice mount on it, and this cartridge filter is like $10, and the top is like 25, so like 35 bucks. And I think this is 35 bucks also, except this is very easy to replace. It's pretty light. I mean, it's obviously heavier than this, but it's going to do like 8 times better of a job, and easy to get whatever fittings you want. It's just -6 is my fuel system, but if you have -8, that is a -10, so 5/8 O-ring boss. And you get those are just hydraulic fittings, cheap, and I don't want to pay for really expensive ones when the steel ones are the same thing. They're just slightly wider tolerance and heavier, but I have AC and leather seats, and yeah, so I don't really care. So yeah, I'm gonna put this on, replace that's on the car, and hopefully get some more flow and better fuel filter quality for like 35 bucks. Okay, so the fuel filter housing is mounted. I saved you the pain of watching me drill these holes. Basically, we got 4 little button head screws in there. Now, I only did button heads, so if I load something in the trunk, they wouldn't catch. I think they're like 3/4 of an inch long. 4 of them. And if we crawl underneath the car, you can see where it mounts. So I got my feed line coming out of the tank, goes into the pressure side, the feed side, goes in the filter, and then comes out and snakes around top, and then eventually goes down the frame where it goes up to the engine, kind of along the frame rail there. So kind of nicely mounted there, and we'll thread the canister on. And the exciting part everyone's waiting for, it's in. So it tucks in nicely between the rear end and the stock fuel tank here. Nice and relatively easy to get to. And the best part about it is it should flow a little bit more, do a better job filtering, and if I'm ever in BFE and end up with a bad tank of gas, it's a nice big filter and it's easy to change. So I guess that wraps that one up.